Why does nobody want kids anymore? The data doesn't lie. Fertility rates are dropping worldwide, from the US to Japan, Italy, and South Korea. Every year brings headlines of record low birth rates, raising concerns about aging populations, shrinking workforces, and the future of our societies. But this isn't just a lecture or an agenda. This video is not about pushing opinions or judging anyone's life choices. It's simply an exploration of what's happening right now and why. Whether you want kids or don't want them or undecided, the trends we'll discuss affect all of us. Now, if you do enjoy these kinds of discussions, hit that like button, subscribe, and let's dive in. Now, the numbers don't lie. The fertility rate, which is the average number of children a woman has in her lifetime, needs to be about 2.1 for a population to replace itself. Most countries are far below that. In the US, the fertility rate is around 1.64. South Korea, a shocking 0.78. So what does this mean? Without immigration, populations shrink, aging societies struggle, and economies falter. This isn't just a localized issue, it's global. Even nations like Sweden and Norway, known for their pro-family policies, are seeing declines. In places like Italy, the government has declared the birth rate a national emergency. In Japan, births are so rare that entire towns are being abandoned, and on paper the solutions seem straightforward. Now let's start with the most obvious reason: money. Having kids is expensive. In the US, raising one child costs nearly $300,000, and that's before factoring in college tuition. Meanwhile, wages have stagnated, housing prices have skyrocketed, and student debt is crushing. Take housing as an example. In the 1960s, the average home cost around 3 times the median annual income. Today, it's closer to 7 times. And believe me, it feels like a lot more. This gap makes it nearly impossible for young families to afford a home big enough for kids. Childcare is also another major hurdle. In some parts of the US, daycare costs more than rent. And unlike countries such as Norway, where the government heavily subsidizes childcare, parents in the US are largely on their own. Now, it's not just individuals feeling the pinch. Governments are struggling to find solutions. In fact, France spends 4% of its entire GDP on family benefits, tax breaks, parental leave, and subsidized childcare. But even that hasn't boosted birth rates above replacement levels. If a country with such robust, while not perfect, support systems can't solve the problem, what hope do the other countries have? Another factor is cultural. In past generations, having kids was seen as a natural step in life, but today many people prioritize personal freedoms and career aspirations over starting families. The rise of individualism, whether in your opinion is good or not, has shifted the narrative from when will you have kids to do you even want kids? Social media also plays a role here, glorifying the idea of living your best life without the constraints of parenthood. Traveling the world, pursuing passion projects, and focusing on self-care are increasingly seen as the ultimate goals, often incompatible with the demands of raising children. There's also the issue of timing. In the 1960s, once again, the average age for first-time mothers in the US was around 21. Today, it's much closer to 30. Delaying parenthood often means having fewer children, or, of course, none at all. While individualism has given people the freedom to make choices that suit them, it's also contributing to declining birth rates in ways we're only beginning to understand. These cultural shifts toward personal freedom are celebrated, but they also come with a hidden cost. Studies consistently show that people with strong family connections report higher levels of happiness. Parents tend to experience greater life satisfaction despite the challenges of raising children. Now, this is a sad consequence of affordability problems. When basic needs like housing, childcare, and healthcare are pretty much out of reach, starting a family becomes a pipe dream. What's heartbreaking is that these financial barriers rob people of the chance to experience one of life's greatest joys. Not because they don't want it, but because they can't afford it. The irony is that we are living longer, healthier lives, but without families to share those extra years with, many people find themselves isolated. What used to be a societal safety net, the family, is becoming a luxury fewer and fewer can afford. Governments worldwide are scrambling to reverse these trends. France offers extensive parental benefits, South Korea has poured billions into pro-natal policies, yet birth rates remain stubbornly low. Why? Well, one reason is workplace culture. In countries like Japan and South Korea, long work hours leave little room for family life. Women, in particular, face impossible choices between career advancement and motherhood. Even in countries with generous family policies, cultural attitudes can undermine progress. In Norway, for example, where parental leave is among the best in the world, birth rates are still declining. It's clear that financial incentives alone aren't enough. There's also a broader issue of pessimism. Surveys show that people in low fertility countries are less optimistic about the future. When you're worried about climate change, political instability, or economic uncertainty, Bringing a child into the world feels like a daunting prospect for many. What's worse is that psychological barriers also play a significant role. Many young people feel overwhelmed by the challenges facing the world today. From political extremism to economic instability, a 2023 Pew Research survey found that 40% of childless adults cited the state of the world as a major reason for not having kids. Not to mention, entire movements have formed around the idea of choosing not to have kids just to reduce humanity's carbon footprint. On top of this, the digital age has created new psychological pressures. Social media often portrays parenthood as a constant struggle, deterring many people from even considering it. There's also a growing culture of perfectionism, where the fear of failing as a parent becomes a barrier in itself. Women also face additional pressures. Studies show that women's earnings drop significantly after having children, and this income gap persists for decades. For many, the financial and career sacrifices of parenthood are just simply too great. Also, it's not just parenthood that's declining. Relationships themselves are also on the decline. The dating scene today looks very different from even a decade ago. According to, once again, a study by Pew Research, nearly 60% of young adults in the US reported being single, a significant increase compared to previous generations. But why? A combination of cultural and technological factors. Dating apps, while convenient, have fundamentally changed how people approach relationships. The gamified nature of swiping left or right reduces potential partners to a commodity, often leading to superficial connections or no connections at all. Young adults also face mounting social pressures. Social media fuels unrealistic expectations about what relationships should look like, making many people hesitant to commit. The result? Fewer long-term relationships, fewer marriages, and ultimately, fewer children. The lack of strong relationships doesn't just impact birth rates. It contributes to a broader sense of loneliness and disconnection in society, which is continuously growing. Building a family starts with finding a partner, and when that first step feels impossible, the rest of the path becomes unimaginable. So, the decision to have kids or not is deeply personal, but as we've explored, the reasons behind declining birth rates go far beyond individual choice. They are shaped by economic realities, cultural shifts, and global anxieties. The irony is that in trying to create a better life for ourselves, we may be undermining the very foundations of society, the family. The declining dating scene also shows just how disconnected we become. If we want to see a brighter future, we need to rebuild the foundations of connection, whether that's financial stability, better opportunities for relationships, or an optimistic view of the future. So, what do you think, guys? Let me know in the comments below. If you have enjoyed this discussion, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.